In today's episode, I am joined by a dear friend, Korrine. Now, you might know her as the face of crisis management, as the woman that mobilized 2,000 students, raised hundreds and thousands of pounds to get medical students out of Ukraine and safely into their countries. But I know her as something much more. I know how her mind works, how she leads with intention, how she is so supportive of those around her. And I am excited to pull back the curtain on Korrine. So, Korrine, thank you for joining us on Her Executive Diary. We are finally doing it. I should probably start by telling everyone that Korrine is our creative director here. She has been on my case to launch this podcast, and I'm so glad that I can get to have her as a guest because I think what she shares would be so beneficial to women, for you to understand that even if the seasons look disjointed, everything always connects. And I think you are the absolute epitome of that. So I'm so excited. You're making me shy.
Thank you for having me.
Excited to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Like, it's been a long time coming.
Too long.
Let me start with my apologies. I was actually supposed to be here a very long time ago and I couldn't make it, but I'm so honored that you considered me as a guest, and you're like such a pivotal person in my life and in my story. When I write my book or I get that Grammy, the Grammy, I love that.
Grammy?
Yeah. I'll definitely put
And the yacht.
And the yacht.
And the yacht. And the yacht.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we can get straight into it. So everybody knows Korrine, the public figure, so to speak, who has done so much. And when I look at your journey, right? DJ, six-figure businesswoman, you did promotion, you did medicine, you did the humanitarian side, the activism side, and you were the creative entrepreneur, so to speak. You're doing designing, graphics, media designing, doing the storytelling side, building. I mean, it's a long CV.
Yeah.
And now you are the CEO of Smade Entertainment. So I want to start because I know you. So I hope that, the women that listen to this podcast episode will get the same things that I get from you, because you have helped me down in so many seasons. And
My babe.
yeah, I've been through a lot. Too much. So I want to start from Coco.
Yeah.
Back then. Not Coco that we know now. Coco at 16, at 17. What were you dealing with? I want you to paint a picture for the audience.
Okay. So I came here when I was 5, came to the UK when I was 5. And like many migrants, we didn't have papers. So for a long time, I was existing in the immigration system. So when it got to that point, when people choosing their options about what they're going to do with their lives and etc., I knew, I always knew we didn't have papers. So university was something that was I always wanted to be a doctor. I knew I was capable. I knew I was smart enough, and I always wanted to help people. I had a vision. I wanted to work for the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be a clinician, but I wanted to work in policy and writing things and activism. So when I got to year 11, we were going through a lot as a family. Financially, things were not singing. And that first-born daughter responsibility of just you assume the responsibility for yourself. Yeah. So I could always see my mom's a big inspiration to me. And I get my work ethic from her. She'd always wake up, she'd always do the things. She was very, very hardworking and she'd show up every single day. But we hit on hard times, and although she never asked me for help, you're not gonna ask a child for help. I felt that kind of responsibility, because for the first time, I actually saw that, things weren't as easy as they had been. So we didn't come, obviously we're immigrants, we didn't come from money, but my mom always provided. But when we got to a certain point, I realized things, she'd fallen on hard times. So I started a vintage clothing business. So it started with me just customizing my friends' clothes so that I could get a little bit of extra money, so I could help and support back home. Well, not back home, at home. And at that time, my brother had also been diagnosed with autism. So she was navigating through that. I come from like a very abusive household. Like my father was very abusive, like very, very abusive. And I witnessed all of that growing up, but she always held it down. You know, she never like cracked, but I witnessed it because of the level of how abusive it was. So I started this business so that I could support her and support my brother and support us. So I'd customize my friends' clothes and then they give me a little change. And then I just had an idea like, okay, you know what? Let me like scale this up a bit. Let me start a website. And this is so random because there was no one around me who was an entrepreneur. I didn't come from entrepreneurship. I didn't have that around me. But it's just, I always say like, innovation. No, I say need is the father of innovation.
Yeah.
So when you really need something, that's when you become yeah. So we were struggling, and because we were struggling, I became very innovative, and it pushed me to create things that could help. And I helped, like I really helped. And my mom was behind me all the way. So this was in between year 11 and then and starting college. So I started college and I'm going to college every day. And then my business started picking up. So I opened like a big cartel and I had an eBay. I was really inspired by Nasty Girl. The founder of Nasty Girl was a lady called Sophia Amoroso. I was so inspired by her because we had like a similar story in terms of how the upbringing and everything. So I started that. People were buying internationally and I was like 16. Like it was really, for me, I was like making so much money every single night and I could provide for my family. So, and it felt like that's the reason why I've always been in entrepreneurship. It's never been about, becoming really rich. It's always come from providing. So I was really happy that, I could provide for my family, but I was an entrepreneur. I didn't know anything. I was an entrepreneur, but not a business person, right? So I was learning as I went along and I was 16. Yeah.
Still very young.
I was very, very young. So as the business started picking up, I couldn't handle like college and the business. So I was like to my mom, like, Mom, I know I have this dream to be a doctor, but give me a year. Like, if this business doesn't work out, I'll go back to college. But if it works out, then it works out. So it worked out.
Yeah.
So at the end of like that year, and she could see like every single day I was like packing orders. We had like a basement. So I used to use that basement as like my workshop. So I'd be, at that point I used to like customize shorts and I'd be painting like, what's it called? What are those boots called? Those leather boots. I'd customize them with like different designs. And at that time, people were really like interested in different things. It wasn't like fast fashion. People wanted unique things. It was in that indie era, So I had like clientele in America, Australia. It was just ridiculous. I felt like Hannah Montana. It was really, really ridiculous. My friends would come and they would help me and would be going to the post office. So that's how it all started. It was through need, through not really having any options. So after that year, I decided that, okay, I want to go back to university because I felt like I saw my friends, and entrepreneurship is really rocky.
Up and down.
It's really up and down. And I felt like my friends were hitting those milestones and I was not hitting the same milestones. And I also felt like intellectually I was stagnant because I hadn't been around other people. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I had no mentorship. I wasn't in the business world, but I was running a business. So it felt really isolating. So I was like, okay, I want to go back to university. So I applied for university. This time we had papers now, but I had a passport from when I was a child. And I also had nothing else, like nothing else. So when I applied for university, I tried to apply for student finance. And then they kept on asking for more information I couldn't give them. So the payment for like the first few semesters didn't go through. So then they were like to me, you can't for university until you've had this sorted out. So went back, started hustling again. And yeah.
So when did Korrine Sky Intimates come in between all of that?
Okay, so you know, like my government name.
Yes.
One day I told Ruth, like, you know, Korrine use my real name.
Send me money. I'm like, who am I sending to? Who is this woman?
You were like,
This is a scam. I was so confused.
So I was named after somebody else. And I had just a feeling when I was about probably like 15 that like my life, like who I was, it meant something. And I didn't want the association with somebody else. And this person, they always used to call me like mini me, and I hated it. Like I was like, I'm no one's mini me. Like, you know what I'm like, you know, I'm very
Very.
I didn't like it. So I said to Mom, I was like, Mom, I want to change my name. And then she was like, yeah, do it if you want to. Because I was like, how did you even come up with this? Like, this is dead. Like, so dead.
Who is this person? Yeah, it's not me.
It's not me. And then she was like, okay, yeah. Like, what? So I said to her, what do you think I should call myself? And then she was like, oh, you're the one who wants to change your name, so you have to figure it out on your own. So then I thought about it. Then I just came up with the name Korrine Sky. Like, it literally came
Just
to me.
hit.
It
Because
just hit.
what does that even represent then? It's like the shredding of not association. I say this because I'm also named after my grandma. And her name is my exact name, you know, to the T.
To the T.
And there is an element of, you know, yes, you're always going to almost live in that person's shadow.
Yeah.
You know, I love my grandma and everything, but then it's like, at what point do you then actually stand in your own? So that's interesting to hear that you took it into your own hands and were like, you know what, I'm my own person.
Changing it. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it all. I want to be my own person. I want to build a legacy for myself that's not associated with somebody else. So it just came to me. So I was like, Korrine Sky, like, and I had my business already. But then after a few years, you know, fashion's always changing.
Yeah.
So when I started my business was like right at the start of Instagram. So I never used to promote my business on Instagram. I used to use Tumblr and this website called Where to Get. I was always in like an internet party, and like, so I used to use Tumblr. They used to go viral, and then people would buy the things because people kept on reblogging the pictures out on Tumblr. So after a while, Tumblr phased out. Where to Get stopped existing. All of these things just phased out. So I thought, okay, we need to reinvent ourselves. Like, how do we reinvent ourselves? So I started a dress business. And this was like right at the start of like the Kardashians, you know, that influencer, you know, market where people are now like looking at the influencers, celebrities, kind of around the same time as House of CB. You know how House of CB used to be called Celebrity Boutique?
Yes.
So everything I used to sell was like celebrity inspired.
So was that the same for you? You were selling celebrity inspired?
It was all around the Kardashians, literally. And I had this page that I used to use on Instagram. I used to pay for promo. So they would like post Kim Kardashian's outfit, where she got it from, and then the cheap alternative, I'd pay for the ad to be the cheap alternative.
Okay.
So every time this babe posted, sell out
on it. Yeah.
Sell out. It would sell out instantly. And then obviously that phased out because now Misguided came, Pretty Little Thing
All the fast fashion brands.
All the fast fashion brands came and they flooded that market. But through my market research, I realized like one market that was kind of underserved was the lingerie market. And in the sense of when you go to like a lingerie brand online back then, I don't know if it's changed now. It probably has with like Savage Fenty, but back then you would only see white people, white women, skinny, no boobs, no hips, no
nothing.
Nothing. So I felt like that kind of off-putting when I'm trying to buy. I want to see like what it would look like on me.
And on that point though, sorry to pause you.
Yeah.
Lingerie, African household.
I was 18.
18 even. And you're out here, because I was seeing like the body was bodying and everything. And you were in your bra and, you know, you were putting on some outfit. How was that like coming from also, you know, being an African child?
My mom knows me. Like, she's always been so supportive. Like, that's my twin. Like, she knows my heart and she knows what motivates me. So when I was doing that, she's always known I'm an entrepreneur. So I never felt any judgment from her. I started by like just getting like 3 samples. So I did 3 samples, and I was talking about it on Twitter. Like at that same time, I still had my dress brand, and I was planning on launching Korrine Sky Intimates. So I was talking about it, started posting it. I didn't tell her I was going to start a lingerie business, but I wanted to test it. Not out of shame, but it was like, I just wanted to test it.
Want to see what it goes.
See where it goes. And then once it started like kicking off, she was my buyer. She used to choose all the outfits. She used to find them. She used to source them. She was the buyer.
That's amazing. Yeah. And fast forward to 10 years down the line, you and your mom also have the brand of Nehanda Atelier. So what I want to know is, as somebody who was so young, and what might seem like success to so many people, right? Like you're making 6 figures, you're constantly getting the orders. Yes, you're having to navigate what marketing looks like, but you're still doing it and you're making money, most importantly. How then did you go from that to saying, okay, I want to now go and do medicine? Because if I didn't know you, I would think, why is she walking away from success? She's making the money. That's what we all want to do. We all want to make money. So how, talk me through that whole process of walking away from that to then going into medicine.
So it's a few things. So I've always been an entrepreneur, but most importantly, I'm a marketer. Like my strength is in brand building and marketing. I can sell, right? But I didn't have the knowledge or the know-how to run a business. I didn't. I really didn't. Like I was 18 and the internet, they told me, you do not have the know-how to run a business. Oh no, they made sure that I knew that I went through a lot. And I feel like it's no more than anybody else who's ever ran an e-commerce business, but I was one of a kind. Like nobody was in my industry.
Space.
Nobody was like me. Like it was, so a lot of attention was on me. And I struggled. I knew why I was doing it. I knew it was like to provide for my family, but the like constantly being bashed when you're really trying your best, like every single day you're waking up, like you're...
Do you remember the Twitter post that you used to share? It's like one after the other. People just take every single detail.
Yeah, they used to cook me on a regular basis. Yeah, like I'd be like, guys, like it was every single day. It was either I'd do a drop, it'd make loads of sales, but then when it came to, because it was just me, and then my friends would help me, and I didn't understand logistics. I was learning as I went along.
As you went, because you're only 18.
I was only 18. Yeah. And then when I've now like met other entrepreneurs and they've gone through things that I went through when I was 18, it's made me feel a bit more like, oh, I was just learning.
Yeah, it's learning.
Back then, they really, really cooked me and they really affected my mental health. I kept on pushing. I didn't stop. I kept on pushing, but it was making me feel miserable. And then my sister had a daughter. And then I thought to myself, like, as much as I know why I do this, and I'm like body positive, I don't shame women, I also didn't want like my story to be, oh, like as a model and sell lingerie, that's how we got here. Do you know what I mean? I want to show her that like range. So I thought, okay, I want to go back to school. And it was a childhood dream that I always had. I only fell into entrepreneurship
out of need.
Out of need. I always wanted to be a doctor. So I met a guy, and the guy had gone to university in Europe. Can I say, you know the guy? Okay, do you know Dr. Bot?
Yes,
I met Dr. Bot.
My mentee.
Yeah, I met him. I don't think he even knows this. Like, he's the reason I went to Ukraine.
No way.
Yeah, so I met him. And prior to that, like, I was studying nursing. So I did nursing, and my plan was to do graduate entry medicine. So I met him, and then he was like, oh, I studied in Europe, and this is how I did it. And it inspired me. I was like, you know what, let me explore my options. And then I found out like the different ways the different entries into medicine. And I chose Ukraine mainly because it was the cheapest. It was like £3,000 a year, whereas uni is 9,000.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the UK where you say 9,000.
9,000. So I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it and just take it off my list of things. I fulfilled my dream. So it meant a lot to me. And I also felt like, my mum never gave me pressure, but I felt like people who didn't know me, I always felt misunderstood. That people who didn't know me felt like I was either not smart, or I was like an Insta baddie, or I knew myself
because of what
they were seeing. So
Yeah.
I felt like I need to
do more.
I need to prove
No way.
myself to myself and to my niece and to everybody.
But was it just proving to yourself, or was it the weight of what others thought?
I fell out of love with e-commerce, full stop, because of the pressure and the constant bullying. And I really do feel like an element of the level of bullying that I got was racialized. Because I've seen like brands flop terribly. But it was personal, like it was really, really personal. So yeah, that wasn't the reason I went to medicine, but I fell out of love with e-commerce.
And it was time to pivot.
It was time to pivot. But me fulfilling that dream was for myself, for my niece, and more for myself than anything, because I felt like the dream to be a doctor was robbed from me. And I've always been a scholar. Like, I'm an academic. You know, I'm an academic.
Yeah, you've been helping people doing university work, notes, and
I've always been an academic, but I never got the opportunity to be the academic that I was meant to be because of immigration and everything. Yeah.
So it's interesting because as you've been talking about the reasons why you went into medicine, I also wanted to be a doctor, and I've been reflecting on my own reasons. I think growing up, for me, it wasn't so much that pressure came from my family, maybe more so I'd say at a community level, that, you know, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, for example. It was always prescribed that these are the jobs to be. And so when I failed and all that stuff happened, I was still like, yeah, I want to be a doctor. And I explored going to St. George's, you know, all these other places, until I had to be honest with myself and say, hey, why do you want to be, why do you want to be a doctor? And I think there's a sense just for myself, but I'm just pulling it out of your story, is that it was a sense of validation to everyone else. I want you to know that I am academic and I can do that, especially because I'd failed my A-levels. And it became more than just proving a point to myself. I wanted to prove a point to anyone that would listen, who would know my name. They will know that this is doctor. You have some respect on it, literally, you know. And it's just interesting to hear. So now you're in Ukraine, you're doing medicine, and then the war happened. That night when Kiev got bombed, what was going on? Because to the outside world, and maybe people don't know this about you, you became the face of activism overnight. And I want to just paint a picture for everyone else. What were you going through? You've got your dream of doing medicine. You've been accepted. You're in Ukraine, first year down, you're in year 2. And then this happens. And your dream of being a doctor is just up in the balance. How did that make you feel?
What's the date today?
The 21st of February.
So it's like 3 days from now, the 24th. And I hate telling the story because every time I tell it, I'd hope that I've got over it. But I actually don't. I really don't like talking about it in the sense that I feel like, I think this is going to be the 4th year anniversary in a few days. And so when I went to Ukraine, I left my daughter. So I left my daughter with my mom. And like, it was a sacrifice that like I made because I was like, I need to prove to myself, to her, to everybody that I can do this. And it's a dream come true for me. So when prior to the war, you guys got a lot of news about the war, right? You saw it on BBC, like they're constantly talking about it.
It's building up.
It's building up, right?
Things, yes.
But in Ukraine, we didn't get any of that. Like there was it wasn't really documented. Even if you ask people, they'd look at you like. And I remember Zelensky went on the news. I remember watching the news and he goes, if there's a war that's going to happen in Ukraine, they need to tell us about it as well because we have no knowledge of a war. And then the university were like, no, this is Western propaganda. And if you leave, you're going to be penalized.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was not taken seriously because I felt like because there'd been an ongoing war that was cold, nothing was really happening in Ukraine, but people still considered it to be like, oh, there's a war going on. When all of that happened, I feel like I thought it was just a moment in time that we were going to get through this and things would be better. And I started looking on Twitter for news. I stopped looking on... So, you know, when you travel, you see because of cookies, you see...
An algorithm.
Yeah, an algorithm. So I started going on Twitter because Twitter back then was very like free speechy. You'd see like what's trending, whatever. So I remember waking up and number one trending was Russia has bombed Ukraine. I'm thinking, all along people have been telling me this, but I was like...
This is not happening.
This is not happening. Because if you looked outside, there was nothing to indicate that there was a war going on. So I just felt like, what the heck? But over 24 hours, there was military everywhere. Like, you could now see, like, okay...
Like something is now.
Really happening. And they started releasing news, like saying that people need to evacuate Ukraine, you need to figure things out. But I went to a private university that was majority like immigrants, people who come from international students, and we weren't in the narrative. So in terms of instructions, like go flee to Poland, go to this country, none of that was tailored to us. Well, I say us. I know it. I haven't really go what I mean, but tailored to us. So I started asking questions like, okay, so all of these international students, when they get to Poland, what's going to happen? Because you need a visa to go to Poland. You can't just go. So how is this going to work? So I started like calling the embassies. And you know, I'm one of those people, I can't be still. You know,
I know.
I don't know if it's the first born daughter, like I'm just a fixer. But
it's inherent. You can't explain it. It just, if something needs to be fixed, you're fixing it.
I'm fixing it. And also, I'm not like I know it's going to sound crazy. I'm not a very emotional person, she says. But I'm not a very emotional person. I'm very pragmatic and logical.
Yeah.
So in that incident, I started thinking, okay, I have this community that I'm a part of international students. We need to go to Poland. We need to go to Romania. How are we going to go there? So naturally, what's the first thing to do is to contact the embassies. So I first put everybody in a group chat. So I created a group chat on Telegram and said, everybody who's in our unis, let's join this group chat so that we can communicate. And then I created a census so that I knew how many students from different countries that were there. So it was like a form. And then people would say their name, their full name, their date of birth, and where they're from. And then from that data, then I would know which embassies to start contacting.
To start reaching out to.
Yeah. So we started reaching out to the embassies. The embassies are like, oh.
You're laughing now.
We're calling the embassies. The embassies are like, I don't know what you want us to do. Like, we don't know how to help you.
They weren't even in a position to
They
help
were not
anyone.
even remotely interested in helping at all.
Oh.
So I was shocked because obviously coming from the UK, where if you reach out to your embassy, they're supposed to do something. So I started yapping on Twitter. So all those followers I amassed from selling lingerie, I then went back to them and said, guys, I'm in Ukraine, this is what's happening. I'm trying to reach out to the embassies and this is what they're saying. So this is the Ghana embassy. This is the phone number. This is the head of the embassy.
List
what they said. Listed everything. As a result of that, you know, they were going viral because obviously it's a life or death situation.
Yeah.
And then the media started picking it up. So what they did is they contacted the embassies to verify. What did the embassies now start doing? Reaching out to see how they can help. So I had all the data. Nobody knew how many. They said we didn't even know there were African students in Ukraine. So, because I had all the...
They didn't know there were African students.
That's what they said. They said they didn't know. Yeah. They said they didn't know. So I would give them the data like, okay, so there's X amount of students. This is their names. This is where they're from. Support them.
And this is what help they need. Yeah.
The help they need. So this is the first 2 days of the war being announced. I was still stationed. People started moving. So in that group chat ended up being like, I think there was like 5,000 people.
Oh.
Yeah, there was 5,000 people in that group chat. So people started moving and going to the borders. So once they started moving, going to the borders, because I lived in Dnipro, it was a bit further out from Kiev. So in my mind, I was a bit delusional to think that it wasn't going to reach us. I thought that maybe Kiev was the only place I was going to be.
They're going to go.
And I was holding on because I didn't think like my dream was going to be snatched off my hands in this way.
Yeah, like it's so instantly.
So instantly. So people started moving, going to like Poland, people started moving, going to Poland, going to Romania. And then they started like detailing reports of what their journey was like. How when they were trying to get on the trains, they were being told no Black people allowed, or Ukrainians only.
Wow.
Or when they now reached like the Polish border, they were being pushed back and they were experiencing border violence. And for some reason, I don't know if this is, I think it's white supremacy. Generally, when Black people tell stories like this, it's considered, oh, you're putting the race card.
I'm listening to this and I'm in shock that this is even still happening.
Yeah, it was very, very... So even in myself, I wanted to be sure that this was really something that was happening before I spread that. Because now I had a lot of eyes on me. I was like speaking to different press people all the time. I had several groups. I was doing a lot. And then at that time, now they were saying that when they were trying to get on the buses, they couldn't leave. So the only way to leave was via taxi. So I went on Twitter and I started like matching people who needed help with people who were willing to help. So I wasn't collecting any money because I didn't want and I know my people, and I know what Twitter can be like. I didn't want people to think I was taking advantage of the situation, to try and get money from people, or any of that. I didn't want that narrative. So I would attach the donor to the person who needed help, and they would sort themselves out. So when we now decided to leave, because the bombs were now getting closer to the Dnipro, so we had to leave. There was military everywhere. Like, it was like you had to leave. We went by car. So once we started moving, it's a very long journey, and I'll trim it up, very long story. But when we eventually got to the border, towards Romania, so this is the Ukrainian side of the border to Romania, that's when things started kicking off.
Yeah.
So I was like abused at the border, but we managed to take a video. And we had evidence. When we had people, and I could actually say like that
this is what really
happened, and I had the video proof, and other students had the video proof. So we all started talking about it on social media. And initially, the Ukrainian government came out and said that we were lying. People said that we were Russian bots. But once the BBC picked it up and they documented elements of it, the African Union and the United Nations came out and said, no, this is really happening.
This is happening.
They fact-checked it. And getting that kind of like validation made all eyes were on us now. Like, people now were actually caring about what was happening. But it's very hard to explain. Ukraine is it's not as modern as like the United Kingdom or other places in Europe. It's quite like delayed. I don't want to say backward. I'll say it's a bit technologically delayed.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is a bit behind. So once we got to the front of the queue, and we experienced the situation where there was violence, I contacted the British Embassy, like, guys, like,
please help.
Please help. Like, this is really bad. And they were like, oh, we're going to try to cross the border and help you. We waited. Nobody came. So now they separated the queue between everybody who wasn't white in one queue and then everybody who was white in another queue. And when I told this story, people were arguing with me saying that, oh no, but surely preference is going to be given to Ukrainians. Nobody was checking passports. So how do they know they were Ukrainian or not Ukrainian? How would you know? That meant if you were Black and Ukrainian, you would have been
in the other
queue. So it was on race. So I then clocked it like, wow, like this is actually like segregation. You could see like hordes of families. People would say that they were prioritizing women and children, but
you couldn't feel it, especially when you're on the ground.
They were prioritizing white women and children and men,
everyone else
in another queue. So trying to get out of Ukraine, it took like, I would say like 4 days, if I remember correctly. And at that time, I started my period. Like, it was so humiliating. There was no toilets. There was just, I had like a big, massive black thing
that you were going through. That's the last thing that you need.
Yeah.
Hormones, emotions.
Yeah, it was really, really like horrific. Like, I've never been through anything like that in my life. And the whole time I just thought like, you know what, I'm going to try my best because I don't think we're going to make it out of this. If we die, at least I know I tried my best.
Yeah.
So it was more, throughout that journey, I documented everything on Twitter. So every single thing that happened, I tweeted it. And people have asked me before, like, why did you do it that way? And because I genuinely thought I was going to die, I thought I'd rather like Jojo know like what happened rather than
to do.
Rather than I be discovered and nobody knows what happened to us. I want to be the
author of my story.
Yeah, so that was the only reason. And through that, people now started wanting to help. They wanted to help all the students that were in that situation. People started offering to fundraise for us. So I worked with 2 ladies and they helped fundraise for the students. So I told the story. They were helping with the logistics. I had a Ukrainian bank account and a British bank account. So we're able to move money to students directly
that need it.
And I did all of that whilst I was on the road. So on my journey, if I remember correctly, I was able to do like something like 300 transfers.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, like, my phone never ran out of battery. And I never have battery. The one thing I'm famous for is never having phone battery. But I think that was God.
Yeah.
I think that was God. God made sure that we could help as many people as possible. And the global community really like showed up for us. We became part of the narrative of what was happening in Ukraine. So it showed like 2 things, that even amidst horror, war, racism will always prevail. People can be fighting for their lives, but they'll never forget to be racist.
I think here we are, we have moved past it. Yeah. It's interesting because as much as we have talked, I don't think I fully grasped or understood just what you went through in Ukraine. Just as you're going through it, I'm seeing, you're a leader that rose up in crisis because you now had your British passport and British citizenship. You could come to the UK. But here you are thinking about other people and being their voice. I think it takes so much strength and courage that you can be the voice of someone that's in need and then thinking about that. What you mobilized 300,000, 2,000 students supported, that is a big foot. Because I remember you and we've been in each other's spheres for so long, like years. And then when this all happened, I was like looking at it and I was like, this can't be the same woman.
Over a decade.
And I kept thinking, yes, very long.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this woman? And what was the weight on you? Now everyone's looking to you, you're documenting your racism, you're getting all these inquiries. And what does that feel like to be the face holding everyone else up, even though you're like saying you're going through your periods, your phone, you're this, you're traveling through, you're going to the border, you're facing racism. What does it still mean to still champion others and to still be a leader even in that crisis?
I don't think I did anything. I think I just had the skills to be of help. And I've always believed in like letting God use you. So that's why I'm so flippant. Like I just go with the mood because I believe like God uses people. So in that moment, I feel like I was just a vessel. I don't remember summoning myself like strength, like looking at myself in the mirror like, oh my gosh, we're going to save all of it. It wasn't that. I was just following. I was just allowing God to use.
And that's the beauty of humanity, isn't it? It's just knowing that even when your brother is in trouble, what can you do? And you've said that rightly. We always think that to change the world, we need to come up with this one big idea. But actually, to just change the world like you did, all you had to do was use your skills and what you had.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful.
And another thing I realized with like my colleagues, because they came from Africa and then also coming from here, as Africans, that is like, it's like we have inbuilt shame.
Yeah.
So despite everything that they were going through, they didn't want to be the one to
now talk about the story.
Because they felt shame associated to what they went through. So they didn't want to be that person. But I guess coming from like a Western background where we just taught too much. So it was kind of like a total, yeah. And I feel like because of all the different things that happen in Africa, people are a bit more subservient.
Yes.
And then you like follow the order. They don't want to speak up.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to bring shame onto their family. They don't want to be seen as a loudmouth. You know, in our culture, they say kuvengezera.
Yeah.
They don't want to be seen as mnano vengezera, which is like, I've always had a problem with that statement because what does kuvengezera mean? It's like being, how would you describe kuvengezera?
I don't even know
Forward.
how to explain it. It's
being forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's you're beyond now kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think. If
being an person who's really forward, really like,
you want to be the one that's outspoken.
Yeah.
Everyone, you just need to sit and lie and just follow.
And there's a colonial trauma. It's the way that, you know, colonization raised us to feel like we can't say certain things. And also there's always that, but you're using the race card. But I felt a conviction, but I will ultimately say all those students like leaving Ukraine and all the support that we got and all the money that we raised, it wasn't me, it was God. That's what God wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the beauty of seeing humanity doing that. So I feel like it's a whole podcast topic of shame and culture, what you've just touched on, because I could not agree more. I see it in the community. I see it with women, especially, I would say, my mom's generation.
Yes.
And how gracious is God that he gave you the courage to be the spokesperson for other people. But so when you came back to the UK, Coco, who was holding you when you were holding all these 3,000 students? Who was there for you?
That's a really good question. So when I came back to the UK, I helped so many students, like personally myself, helped so many students carry on with their education. So when we got back, it wasn't about, I was like, our life has been disturbed, it's been disrupted. And I know all these students, all they care about is carrying on with their dream and being medical students and being doctors and fulfilling their dreams. So I started like reaching out to universities and I started another campaign, which is what happens after for African students in Ukraine. Did a petition, lobbied the government. I really, really worked on that because I wanted us to have, you know, the happily ever after. And because I was the strong Black woman, no, I never got offered a place. Even in the money that we raised, I didn't get a penny. Like I was struggling for my life. I didn't have any money. But I thought that, you know, if I kept on, you know, being visible and helping other people, by the natural order of the universe, it has to find me. It has to also find me. But then after like successfully getting so many students back in their education and no one ever asking me like, do you need help with anything? Like it really broke me. Like it really broke me that nobody like came back to get me.
To ask you.
No.
Because you're here caring for everyone else and here you are.
Yeah. So because I'm strong, I don't need any help. So, yeah. Even I remember when I took my mom to London, I was shooting a feature for The Independent. It was a year after the war. And I was telling the story of everything that happened. And my mom was like on the other side. So it was me and this journalist, a very amazing woman called Nadine White. She's one of the most amazing journalists in the world. She sent us Black stories and I was so honored for her to invite me. My mom was like, you know, I didn't realize how much it affected you. Like,
because everyone is seeing what you are doing. And I think that's the invisible load that people don't even know that. How do I carry? And it's a calling, like you say, I do know that you had to do it. It's not even a negotiable. Like, then what about me?
Yeah. And then a few months afterwards, there was a lady called Gwen Madiba. She was part of our campaign. And when we first met, we did not get along at all. Like, Oh, we did not get along. Because I thought like people who were coming to help, they were trying to descend to us, our story, and use it kind of like to promote their activism.
Agendas.
And that's what I thought about Gwen. But she's not like that. Once I got to know her, I realized I actually completely misunderstood what her mission was. A year later, me and her both nominated for an honor from MyPad, and we were supposed to go to New York to go to the United Nations for all the work that we'd done. And then she's like, "Oh, so you're gonna come?" I'm like, "God, I don't have anything. Like I'm broke. I don't have nothing. Like I don't know.
300,000 came through, but it went to buy back her.
I don't have the money. Wasn't for me. I didn't handle any of the funds. I have nothing. So go and collect the award for us." And then she was like, "No, babes. Like if you can get yourself there, I've got you." So like all my family, they scraped their little coins. Yeah. They scraped.
Get a tissue, please. Perfect.
Just a long tissue.
Sorry.
They scraped their little coins together, and I got on a plane to New York, and she looked after me like, and she did like a whole photo shoot. Like she really. And
Yeah, I saw those pictures. They were.
I remember saying to her like, after everything that happened, like you're the only person that came back for me, and it really meant a lot to me. That like somebody actually thought like
What about Korrine?
what about Korrine? Like no one ever asked because I was the face, I was a strong person. But that, like what she did for me, it changed like my whole perspective. It's changed my way to laugh. It changed my whole perspective on like women leadership, being a leader and a woman. Like it changed. She's had such an impact on me from afar. Like we've been close, but how she modeled leadership to me. Like
that moment.
It taught me a lot.
After everything.
It taught me a lot.
How could we, I say even just for me, because I'd never even realized that's what happened. All I saw was Coco raised all this money and she's good because I was following up with your stories. You were going to Cambridge. I saw you were going to, you were doing all these things and I thought she's good. Is there something that, for the friend that always sees the other as the strong person, is there something that I could do, to help you in that journey? What can we do for our strong friends to make sure that they're also okay?
Let me tell you another story, guys. So I got an offer to go study at Cambridge to do a foundation course. And I don't even know if I should say this, but
we're pulling the curtain back. Just stay.
But the person was like, I got this offer because I spoke at another university, and the leader of that course, she was really passionate about me. She was really passionate about my story. And I told her this other part, like, I've been fighting for everybody. Like, I haven't got anything. Like, nobody's helped me. I also need to see my dreams come through. And I thought that helping others, it would come back to me. But I really want to be a doctor. And this lady, she was a professor in Canada. Her name was Yvonne Sue, Dr. Yvonne. Like, one of the most amazing people I've never met. She invited me to speak with her cohorts. So I shared my story. And then afterwards, she became like a mentor. She really wanted me to become a doctor.
To share that.
So she, connected. She introduced me to this person, and I got the offer for Cambridge. But then the money that they were asking for, like I didn't have it. I didn't have it to give. And all the other university offers I got for everybody. I got scholarships for people. I fundraised for people to go to uni. And I just didn't have it. So I was like, well, this is not going to happen, is it? So if we get back to the start of the story, I'd always been an entrepreneur. Medicine was just random to everybody else. It wasn't random to me. So people knew me for being an entrepreneur. But I also forgot that aspect of myself. So there was this girl who would not leave me alone. She was looking for me like, oh, can we talk? Like, can we see how we can work together? She's messaging me and thinking like, I want to be a doctor. I don't have anything to give. So I remember the first time I got on FaceTime with Ruth, I was like in the dark, I had a hoodie on.
How about me?
She was sad. Like, Ruth is very professional, very put together. Her lights are on. She's sat, I'm in the hoodie. And she's like, okay, so I have this vision. She's telling me about executive branch. She's telling me about everything she's working with herself as a brand. And I'm just sharing, like, oh, this is what I think, this is what I think. And then she's like, oh, like, can you consult for me? Like, can we build something together? Okay. Well, I want to be a doctor. Like, God needs to leave me alone. So I didn't know, because I didn't grow up from entrepreneurship. I didn't know that there was a thing as like consultants, a strategist, all of these other things that I now know. I didn't know them. I just thought, why won't Ruth
Still
leave
a
me
crone.
alone? I just want to sell my products, go to uni, mind my business. This girl's saying all these things, like, I'm not in the space for this. But she encouraged me. Like, Ruth is very persistent. If you've ever known or met Ruth, she's very, very persistent, and she's a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur, but Ruth is a businesswoman. She knows how things are done. She knows how to do things properly. So we met up, and then I told her about everything I've been going through. I remember we were sat. I took her on a hot date to the Shard.
To the Shard. And treated me. In that life, have a friend like Coco. I was living my best life that day.
I've always hustled. So, I've always had things come in. So I took my babe on a hot day. And I remember saying to her, like, I feel so conflicted. Like, I want to be a doctor, but I don't know what's going to happen for my life. And I said to her, like, do you think I should pursue medicine or I need to pivot? She asked me, why do you want to be a doctor? And I was like, I want to be a doctor because I want to impact people's lives. I want to change people's lives. She was like, don't you think you've already done that? Okay. And that changed everything for me. Like, it literally changed everything for me. So I jumped on the Ruth Kudzai ship. She was my first ever. So my first ever clients as a consultant and a strategist. And I learned a lot from how to be a businesswoman, like how to do things properly, how to be strict, how to have your documents together, I learned from her how to run a business, like not just from vibes, like from actually, because she was on my ass. Like she's been my client, but she's also given me other clients. And when someone introduces you to other people, you want to, you don't want to ruin your relationship, so you want to make sure that you deliver and you do a good job.
Yes.
And I started giving ideas for how we can do executive branch. The executive branch that we know now and the one that she told me about are like so different.
Yeah.
They've really, really evolved. And I love women. Like, I really, really love women. I feel like I can capture women's stories. I see the beauty.
You can get into it.
I can get into it.
Yeah.
So she took me under her wing, but even though I was a consultant, she was consulting for me. Like, it was, and my first ever.
I was the one learning, by the way, but
I was the one learning.
Mhm.
We were
exchanging value.
So, first ever executive branch, she asked me to be a speaker, but I was so like, I didn't have the confidence yet. So it took a bit of, I agreed the day before.
Sharpening.
I agreed the day before the actual event.
On the second edition, not even the first one.
Yeah, on the second edition.
Yeah.
And I got there and everything was so excellent. Like, one thing I hear about you is you have an attention to detail, you care, and you put all your effort into everything, and you tick all the boxes and you're strict.
Yeah, that's holding yourself to a higher standard.
Strict. So I was just looking at this woman like, I'd be like, you want to go out? So I learn a lot.
But this is the thing, and I want to stop you there, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But as women, we always think that person is doing better. I was looking at you and thinking, dang, I need to get where she's at.
Yeah.
And here you are, now you're talking like I need to get where she's at.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes we don't give each other like credit to actually just go to a woman and say, like, you know what, I'm so proud of what you're doing amazing. Because here I was, despite knowing your whole full story, because all I saw were the highlight reels. In some sense, I never really saw behind that. And I'm just like, wow, she is phenomenal. If I could just get on a date with her. So when you took me to the shot, I was like, right, this is my moment. I'm auditioning for friendship. Do you know what I mean? But like, what I'm saying is, sometimes you don't fully understand your brilliance.
And what it is, like, at that point when we met, I was a failed businesswoman. I was a failed medical student. And I felt a lot of shame towards so many elements of my story. But you saw me in a way I didn't see myself.
Yeah.
So she pushed me on stage. I was so nervous. Like, I was shaking. Like, I just had my second paper. I felt just so self-conscious. I took off my shoes. Like, I couldn't even speak. Like, and yeah, I sat down. I was like, guys, I'm going to share with you my story. And I think that was the first time I got to be vulnerable. And I understood that the room that we were in, it was about sharing the full picture of what it means to be an executive.
It is.
Not the women empowerment part, but the hard parts and the stuff. I'd never actually claimed the fact that I tried and I failed in front of everybody several times. And I felt like that made me feel less than. But you told me that that's actually your strength.
That is the biggest superpower you have.
That's what you taught me. And from that, it's unstoppable. I've been flying to...
You are unstoppable.
I was like,
I have to call Koso and check what airstrip are you on right now? What country? Where are we going? Like, you are just that girl. And, you know, I think that is the beauty of our friendship, is that when you find your tribe, you really find your tribe. You know, it's not about, like, with friendships, like having to over-explain anything. It's just understanding that you're brilliant, I'm brilliant, we can be brilliant together. And I love that about our friendship, that you hold me accountable to my brilliance. I think I've said this before, but you really do. And I hope I can also do that for yourself, because sometimes we magnify the failing part, quote unquote, in our heads. I do that, especially since becoming a mother. This conversation for another day. But we magnify so much of, like, oh, and then this didn't go wrong and this didn't go wrong. But because you are in branding and you're in marketing, what you were doing, perhaps maybe at that point the dots didn't join up, but to the world, you were magnifying your brilliance. And that's what people saw. That's what I saw as well. And
I know that girl. Like, nobody told me. And I always say this, like, I tell the story all the time. And I don't know if I've told you. I always tell everybody who asks me, like, about how did you get into it? I say, you changed the trajectory of my life. Because when you met me, I was grieving what I could have been.
yeah.
But you... And I always had this shame about the fact that I always changed careers, like, every 2 seconds.
And now, why is this happening now to me? I was on the right path.
Yeah, like, I felt now I'm going to be like an adult. I'm going to be serious. You know, I've done so many different things. And I remember one time somebody said to me, like, so when are you going to, like, just stick to one thing?
Yeah.
And I always felt shame to the fact that I couldn't stick to one thing. And it's only when I met you and you told me and you taught me and you showed me, not even through words, but through modeling, that, okay, the dots all connect.
Everything had its seasons, right? And excuse, everything has its seasons, right? And I think with everything that you've managed to do, what I also want to understand is I've gotten to understand how your mind works. You always talk openly about how you're neurodivergent, right? And that has an impact into how everything has worked from the beginning to the middle to the messy, all of these things. Talk me through, how does your mind work, Coco? Because I know that if I need to get anything done, I know you are the person to call, because within 1 hour, it's already done. You will get onto the idea, and it's that. Talk me through that. What's a day in the life of Coco with
How my mind works. So when I was younger, like, I was really bad in school. Like, I didn't go. But I was a really high achiever. I was gifted and talented, but my mum lived in the head of year's office because of my absence. I really struggled in school, and they just labeled it as me being defiant, me being difficult, me just not following instruction. And I've always been a person who I like to be at the beat of my own, move to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
I'm ungovernable. Like, I'm really ungovernable.
I know. No.
Yeah. And that's probably why I've started things, stopped them, tried different things, stopped them. And throughout that whole time, like I said before, I felt so much shame because I saw my friends go to college, go to uni, get careers, buy the house, do the thing, whilst I'm starting a career every few months.
But at least you were starting.
But I've reinvented myself so many times that I was like, how can I succeed at anything? Because I cannot be consistent in one thing. But what I came to learn through like a decade of being a professional F-up.
Pivoter. Pivoter. Not
It's a family channel.
pivoter.
Okay.
You've been pivoting.
As a professional pivoter, I learned that my strength was the fact that I can pick up things really quickly and I don't follow the rules. I'll find the quickest, the best, easiest way to do things.
Yes.
So I'm really, really efficient. So I thought like at every point, like my dream, I was going to be a DJ, I was going to be a doctor, I was going to be a graphic designer, I was going to be a fashion designer. But I didn't realize that my actual talent was the fact that I understand different things really easily. So when you now like brought this whole like strategy consultancy thing to me, I have experience in everything. Like there's nothing I haven't done.
Yes.
Under this world, I can tell you about anything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So it made me an expert in so many different fields because I've excelled in so many different things. At everything I've ever done, I've always gotten there very, very quickly. Like I've been the best at everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I learned that. So back then, actually, so let me rewind. So when I was in school, thought there's so many things wrong with me. And I remember going to my mom, like, I think there's something wrong with me. Like, and I'd also have like really long periods of depression. So I would be really, really high, really productive, really focused. Like,
And
I
then
could
it
do,
would just
and I'd just crash. And then things that were very simple, I couldn't do them. So I'm like, Mom, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, and she said to me, like, oh, yeah, I've picked up on that as well. Like, seeing
no, there's something.
I'd have times where I'd spend like the whole night, like from bedtime to morning, baking cakes because I wanted to learn how to
Bake cake.
really well. And then I'll stop and never do it again. I'm no longer interested because I now know how to do it. So what was affecting me more wasn't the fact that I could pick up loads of different things. It was the periods of depression. So I went to the doctors and then they started like, they diagnosed me with bipolar. Like, I don't think I have. So I thought I had bipolar, but then as time went on, you know, and I got to know myself more, I realized I don't have bipolar.
It's something else.
It's something else. So then I said before that my little brother, he was diagnosed with autism. So through that, I started learning more about like neurodivergency and through medicine as well and just trying to figure myself out. Then I realized, okay, I think it might be something else. So then I had like a period of time where I was really, really depressed. Like I went through a lot. I was fighting for my life. And then I started going through therapy. And then my therapist was like, oh. Yeah, she gave me the language to understand that actually what I was going through was ADHD. And once I got the term and I understood what ADHD was, I started understanding how to hack my ADHD.
Yeah.
So I know that I can work, like, I don't get bored. I can literally work all day. And also, like, working and being creative, it makes me feel really peaceful. So I feel really calm. So it's like my way of, like, stressing. When I'm stressed, my laptop.
Just give her a laptop. Can I laptop? Because that's literally it. And we're talking about it earlier that I know if I have to get anything creative done, if I go to Coco, I just want to do a great job. But then if I, look outside of that, it's not going to be the same level because I know when this girl is focused on it, the output is going to be brilliant. And I think it sort of like ties me back to the question that I wanted to also bring up, right? Talking about like how we work. What I love about you, Coco, is that I don't think I've ever seen a woman that's not supportive of any other woman. I think if supporting women was a person, it would be you. I've seen you countless times find ways to support people. And I say this as someone who's, like in the women empowerment space. It's so easy to just be like, well, I'm doing the same thing, so I'm just going to focus on my own thing. But you don't do that. You give grace. And I want to talk about your spirit of leadership. We have a mutual worker, mentee, whatever that may be. I remember when you started your virtual agency and, I was like looking for someone to do social media and we got in touch. You put me in touch with Reinvention. And then I worked with Reinvention under your agency. And it came a point where you were like, Ruth, I think you can take Reinvention. And I found that so powerful because I was going through your old LinkedIn post while preparing for the podcast. And I was like reading and I was like, wow, I never stopped to really think what it must have taken for Coco to get to a point where she's like, you know what, she's got everything she can get from me. You should take her under your wing. And I want to just marinate on that a little bit. What does mentorship and legacy look like to you? Because now she's doing her own thing, but you were part of that story to build people up. What can other women do to be that?
I feel like we'll get further together. I don't think that one person can ever do it alone. And I remember, like, the whole story I've shared, I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, there was nobody, like, that
was helping you, shaping you.
No. Or you have anybody who I could even say that. And I feel like that's why I held on to medicine, because that's the only representation that we had. We only knew nurses, social workers,
and lawyers. Maybe.
And lawyers. That's all that we had to look up to. And I've never been like, I'm so full of myself. I really, I operate from overflow, right? So I never feel like scarce, like this is just for me, or I need everything to myself. And you gave me a chance. If you hadn't given me a chance, I wouldn't be in the position that I am. I wouldn't have achieved all the things I've achieved. I'd still be focused on a specific version of myself. So when I started the agency, I had this baby girl who just would not leave me alone. She was in my DMs, like, asking, oh, how can I work with you? How can I do this with you? And because you've modeled that to me, I've always been a lone wolf. I do things by myself. I don't have a tribe of I didn't have a tribe of people who were in a similar field to me.
Yeah,
so I think you were the first version of that. So you kind of showed me that, okay, oh, it's lit over here. So when this babe was in my DMs, like, okay, I want to work, I want to do this, I want to do this. I was like, come, let's go. And she picked up on everything so quickly. Like, she's always been a person who's very talented. Very, very talented. And I remember when we first started working together, like, I would be on her, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you need to get up. And my vision for her was always for her to start her own thing. I wanted this to just be an experience for her where she got to practice and then she would do her own thing. And she'll tell you the amount of times where I'd be like to her, so how far with Rain? I just ask her every single day, like, okay, where's the
Why are we not moving?
Why are we not moving? Like, and I saw so much of myself in her because this version of me who's like, professional, organized, I've been poured into, I've been pruned. I've been told off, I've been like, you're embarrassing me, bro. Like, you're doing that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I've been built. So I wanted to extend that to somebody else.
Someone else.
Because I feel like that's legacy. Like, legacy is what you leave behind. It's not what you do.
Yeah.
It's not your accomplishments. It's the evidence of your impact.
You existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So started working and then I introduced her to you. And you guys, Dad fell in love. Like, he literally fell in. To this day, I've never met Roomba.
No way.
Never. Ever.
It's been how many years?
We've never met, like, face to face, ever. Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been so many years. And you guys fell in love. And I saw that she had a passion for the work that you guys were doing more than even the stuff I was trying to get her to do. Like, this was her passion. She found herself. Like, women empowerment, feminine design, and at that time I was also learning about the theory behind branding and marketing, and we talk and I'll teach her certain things that I was practicing. She's taught me as much as I've taught her, She's taught me how to be a mentor, how to be a leader, and she's my biggest accomplishment. I tell everyone all the time. You know when we got those awards, like I literally said like, her winning female entrepreneur is my biggest accomplishment because look at my child.
Look what we shaped, what we built.
You know?
And that's a beautiful thing to witness. And, you know, I have a friend who's always saying like, oh, now the student has become the teacher. And I see that now in Rainbow that I'm like, okay. I can tell there's a je ne sais quoi something happening. And it's beautiful to see that you help shape. And I think as women, that's what we should be striving for. We always want to hold on to things. But, excuse me, it does take strength to let go, hey.
But you gave her the platform to fly. And I always say that takes grace.
And now she's flown.
Yeah. You gave her the platform.
But, you know, it happens in that way. But it is a beautiful thing. And I think, as women, we should be doing what we can to just, what can I give you to add onto your wings so you can fly? Because it isn't just like stay here and stay here forever. It is about what can I give that helps you to fly. So now, as we're wrapping up the podcast, you are now the CEO of Smade Entertainment.
Yeah.
And I have just one question, because what I love about this, and I'm always saying this to you, Coco, when I look at integrated ambition, you are the first person that comes to mind. Because
what's the definition of integrated ambition?
Integrated ambition, for me, it means that it's not choosing one lane. And you've touched on it the whole time we've been doing this podcast, that you can be multi-hyphenate. You can love this thing, you can do that thing, you can do all of these things. And for me, that's something that I struggled with. Hence, I came to you for personal branding, right? It's because I'm passionate and I can do so many things, but how do I like distill it? And with you, even with that multi-hyphenatedness, your ambition to be a creative designer, to storytell, to create websites, to create communities, to be a voice, all of these things, even medicine, all of the dots for me, seeing you where you are now, have connected. You know, we always talk about, I remember the time you were talking about in the shard where it seemed that, you know, where are we going?
What am I going to do with all of this?
And then now I'm like looking at you now and I'm like, the dots have been working so hard to connect, because everything you're doing now has been an amalgamation of your whole life. And I think that's beautiful. What can you tell women that maybe are in a season where it feels that, what is it that I am doing now? Like, where do you see your chapter 10 going? What advice can you give to them?
So 2 years ago, so when I started back with Rainbow, I had an agency, creative agency. So I really wanted to go all in on marketing and branding. And then I did it. Like, I had staff, like I had a team. I had champions who were working every single day. I was learning how to be a businesswoman, how to manage. And then got my home girl one day like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I know. You wanted to tap into the corporate life.
I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, babe. Like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is ghetto. I'm not enjoying it. I hate it. And I find management so draining and hard, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I told my home girl, Ruth, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm closing it. There's no more care. Crazy. It was just, so what are you going to do? And so we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So around this time, you know, I don't know what it is. I feel like maybe it's spiritual or whatever. But the start of every month up until the war, I always go through like this season of depression, like every single year. And I didn't know. Like I thought, okay, I'm not going to do anything. So I stopped. I closed my books, taking any clients. And then I started reading this book called The Artist's Way. And this book is like a program where you journal and you just journal like what's on your mind and what's on your heart. And then also you take yourself on an artist dates. And I felt like I had to reconnect with who I was, aside from everything that's happened, all the trauma, all these versions of myself that I've been trying to build, and all these things I've been doing to prove to myself and other people that I am who I really am. Like, I need to let go of all of that. So I didn't work. every single day I'll just journal. I went into solitude.
I know you did for 3 months. I felt it.
I wasn't talking to anybody. I just needed to be by myself to really reconnect with who I am.
Yeah.
So I did it. And when I came out of it, called Ruth, I'm like, cultural brand strategy, babe.
That's what it was.
It's called cultural brand strategy. Just thinking like, God, can we focus on one thing? But about way,
It was making sense. Like, I could understand.
Are you not sick of me though?
No, it doesn't matter, because I think as friendship, we have to hold each other through all these reinventions until we get it right. And it made sense, because I was like, everything that you're doing, it's exactly that. We just didn't have the language for what it was. But when you said it, I was like, oh, first of all, I was like, this girl. But I was like, okay, I see.
Ruth likes to lie to me, like
I'm
on
not
a regular
lying.
basis. So I told her, like, we're coming up with a new discipline called cultural brand strategy. I've understood exactly how all of this that I've always done, everything I've done. When I first met Ruth, I was a promoter. Like, I used to do events. That's where we first met. And then I was a doctor and I did this and I did all these random things, but I couldn't see what the connection was. I've been a journalist, I've been a storyteller, I've done so many different things. But what's the connection? And for me, the mission has always been telling our stories. Like, it's always been about being authentic with our stories. My journalistic style is about storytelling. It's always been about that. You know, even when I would tell you about the story brand framework.
Story brand. That was the book you recommended.
Yeah, that's like, even when I was talking, even when I did my first speech at the executive branch, I was telling about us, it's about your why. So I always knew, but I didn't understand how everything connected. So after I did the artist way and I reconnected with myself and I let so much shame go about all aspects of everything I felt like I'd lost, it came to me.
Yeah.
It's cultural brand strategy. So I hopped on LinkedIn. I started writing, started like explaining to people what this theory that I have is. To this day, I'm the only theorist like in cultural brand strategy. If other people have come to join on,
They've come after you.
they've come after me because
You were the pioneer.
I'm the pioneer in cultural brand strategy, and I've written about it. I've explained, I've tried to show people why it's important to be authentic, why it's important for stories to benefit the people. Like, I've documented. So in that process, I started thinking, who are the kind of people I want to work with? You know, one of the aspects I hated about KS Creatives was I worked with a lot of early start entrepreneurs, like people at the start of their careers. And I felt like I didn't have anything to give them, because I'll try to explain to them that it's not about your color logo, it's about you, it's about the story, it's about the brand. And we just weren't
connecting.
we weren't clicking. So I thought, who are the ideal people I want to work with? I want to work with people who are invested in the culture, who what they're doing is going to leave a legacy behind. Like, they're leaving an impact, and it's important for their stories to be documented. So I wanted it to be, as much as visual branding, for me, narrative building is more important. And I became really obsessed with narrative building. So sharing my story, and yeah. I started working at Smade. Smade is somebody I've known for a long time. I've known him for like 11 years, but we never worked together. I was just a concert goer.
In the vicinity.
I was just around, a concert goer. And we were friends. So then when I started telling him everything I was doing, I said, okay, come. Let me see like what you can do.
Yeah. And you started consulting for him.
Yeah,
before getting the title.
Yeah. It all started at executive branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the dots must join us.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I started working at Smade. I started as a consultant, and what I used to do was more like narrative. So because my LinkedIn post kept on going viral, I kept on getting people coming to me asking about LinkedIn. So I literally started helping him with his LinkedIn and telling his story, because he hadn't documented the story.
LinkedIn at all.
He wasn't using LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was my vessel to understand the importance of storytelling. And I became really passionate about it. When I learned more about his story and his whole legacy, I was like, this is like one of the most important stories to this Black entertainment business ever. Like it's such an important story. And because we're building our relationship, I was brand strategist, managing director. And then at the end of last year, it's like, will you be the CEO of Smith Entertainment Group? I was like,
Me? CEO?
yeah.
And it's interesting because you weren't even thinking that's where you wanted to go when you said you wanted to go corporate when we had that chat. You were picking for marketing roles and marketing execs. And
I wanted to work under somebody so that I knew that everything that I'd learned was legit.
And applicable.
It was applicable to other people. I wanted to be in a company and show, like, apply, like, my talents and my skills. And it's been the most, amazing.
Yeah.
It's been transformative. Like, it's really shaped my confidence. I've learned so much in it. Like, the entrepreneur and businesswoman that I am today, like, you'd even be shocked. Like, you will be shocked. Like, I am on my...
You are on job.
I'm on job. Like, I'm really, really proud of myself.
And that's
like, genuinely, like...
You should be.
The person that I've become, I think to myself, that little girl who wanted to be a doctor who didn't have papers, like, he was just trying to be an entrepreneur so that she could provide for her family. Like, she'd be so proud.
She's impacting millions
of people. She'd be so proud.
And even in the 1 year that you've been working at Smade, you have done incredible stuff. Like, I personally sit down and think, how the heck did she get here? And I'm so proud as a friend just watching what you were doing. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's amazing. It's good. It's good that you are proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. And I hope you keep holding your head up high because you are that girl. And you have to just, always remember it and just keep pushing because you're inspiring a whole generation of women, myself included.
Thank you.
In everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm rooting for you. We can talk for hours and hours and hours. But I think this is a good time to naturally close. Yeah. So I want to come to you and ask, what advice do you have for maybe the woman that's listening to this podcast episode based on your story? I'm not even going to give you direction.
I feel like my biggest takeaway in everything that I've been through is resilience. I feel like you have to fight back. Like every single time you have to get up. And it doesn't always make sense. Like, a lot of the time you feel like you're down or things aren't going in the direction that you're supposed to be going. But if you keep on getting up, things will get better. And don't judge yourself too much to the point where you think that I'm not doing enough, I should be doing better. Just keep on following the mission and the values that God has placed into your heart. And you'll get there. You'll figure it out. There's no plan. I'm always telling my homegirl, actually, this is my advice to you. I always tell her, like, Ruth, relax. Relax. Like, you are operating at such a high level already. Just go with the flow. So go with the flow. And don't be too hard on yourself.
Thank you so much. It's such a powerful reminder. Nothing is ever wasted. And we have to just learn. That's the journey of life. Thank you, Coco, for joining me on her executive diary. And to the ladies watching, I hope you were able to draw parts or elements of Coco's story that you can apply to your own life, and that you were able to find inspiration and encouragement as I do daily. Coco, how do people get in touch with you? How can they connect?
Google me.
I love that. I should be stopping. But let me tell you something. I watched your podcast episode and you said, I remember the host asked, what does success look like to you? And you said, I want my name to open doors for people. So I'm hoping when you Google Korrine, I'm also there to say, I love that. Google her. So thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, this is her executive diary.